District of Thursday, May the 9th, 2019 will call us to order. I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for being here today. And I would also like to acknowledge that we are within the territory of the Shuswap First Nation. We have an agenda in front of us. I would like to ask my directors for a motion to adopt the agenda, please. So moved. Seconded. Are there any additions, changes? Anyone? Seeing none, I'll call it. All those in favor? Motion carries. The minutes of our regular board meeting of April 25th, 2019. May I have a motion to receive and adopt, please? So moved. Seconded. Okay. Any errors, omissions, changes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? Seeing none, we have no presentations or delegations today. We do have reports. If I can have a motion to receive the reports, which is the Corporate and Administrative Services Committee report. So moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Now, before we go on to adopt the recommendations, I'll look to the directors. Do you want to pull out any of those recommendations out of the block before we approve them on pages 14 to 18? Okay, seeing none, if I may have a motion to adopt the Corporate and Admin Services Committee recommendations, Annex B, so moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. No communications today, but we do have a motion, number 4 on our agenda, and regarding the Elphinstone Advisory Planning Commission. I'll go to our director from that area, please.
Fine. No comment. Just I move the motion.
Okay, and a seconder, please. Seconded. And just a question for staff. In the case of this, do we send a thank you for service? Is that part of the normal process?
Thank you. Yes, I believe it's already been drafted.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Any further conversation or question on this? Seeing none, I'll call that. All those in favor? Motion carries. And it wouldn't be a regular board meeting if we didn't have bylaws. So, Annex C. Pages 19 to 24 in our package. We have the Sunshine Coast Regional District Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw. Just one moment, I just need to get to the right page. Okay, so we are going to look for first, second, third reading and adoption. Please note that this is a weighted vote on this bylaw for the rural areas and the District of Sechelt. So if I can ask for a motion to that the board to amend the Sunshine Coast Regional District Revised Water Rate and Regulations Bylaw number 422 be read a first time. So moved and seconded. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. For a second time, Sunshine Coast Regional District Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 422.33 2019 be read a second time, please. So moved. Seconded. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. And for the third reading, Sunshine Coast Regional District Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw number 422.33 2019 for third reading, please. Moved. Seconded. Any further discussion on this? Anything from staff on this? Nope. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay. And for adoption, Sunshine Coast Regional District Water Rates and Regulations Amendment Bylaw 422.33 2019 be adopted. So moved. Seconded. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. That is adopted. Next up on our list, we have on Annex D, pages 25, 26 in our package. The Sunshine Coast Regional District Bylaw Notice Enforcement Amendment Bylaw number 638.8 2019 We're looking for first, second, third reading and adoption at this meeting, and all directors will be receiving 1 vote each. So may I have a motion for first reading of Sunshine Coast Regional District Bylaw Notice Enforcement Amendment Bylaw number 638.8, 2019. So moved, seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, Sunshine Coast Regional District Bylaw Notice Enforcement Amendment Bylaw number 638.8, 2019 be read for a second time, please. So moved, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. Sunshine Coast Regional District Bylaw Notice Enforcement Amendment Bylaw number 638.8, 2019 be read a third time. So moved, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. And to adopt the Sunshine Coast Regional District Bylaw Notice Enforcement Amendment Bylaw number 638.8, 2019. So move adoption. Seconded. Any further? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Terrific. Moving right along to the Sunshine Coast Regional District Municipal Ticket Information System Amendment Bylaw, number 7 on your agenda, Annex E in your package on pages 27 to 28. We're also looking for first, second, third reading and adoption at this meeting, and all directors will be voting 1 vote each on this as well. So may I have a motion for first reading of the Sunshine Coast Regional District Municipal Ticket System Information System Amendment Bylaw number 558.7. So moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Sunshine Coast Regional District Municipal Ticket Information System Amendment Bylaw number 558.7, 2019 for second reading, please. So moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. Sunshine Coast Regional District Municipal Ticket Information System Amendment Bylaw number 558.7, 2019 for third reading. So moved. Seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carries. And finally, for adoption of Sunshine Coast Regional District Municipal Ticket Information System Amendment Bylaw number 558.7, 2019. So moved adoption. So moved. Seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And just like that, we're on to directors' reports. Sure, certainly. Director Seegers.
Thank you. I just want to thank staff for all the work that went into those bylaws, and to the directors for, spending time reading them, going through them, getting the input from the community. This has actually modified our drought management plan, and I'm hoping that it'll see a difference this year and have an impact on the water in August and September. So thank you for all that.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so moving on to our director's reports and my list today, we're going to start to my immediate right with Director Seegers from Seychelles.
Thank you. Since our last board meeting, I did a number of things. I'll mention a few of them. John Fair Lake renaming. So the District of Seychelles requested that Wormy Lake be renamed, and the regional district supported that. So that actually took place officially on Sunday of last week. Our MLA was there. Acting Mayor Alton Toth was there as well. I took a day to attend the BIABC conference in Surrey. It was one day. And so it was bringing together business improvement areas, and actually there were some from Winnipeg, a number of municipalities in Alberta, and throughout BC. And the couple of the events I took part in, one was a tour of Surrey Centre. So they're actually creating a new downtown in Surrey. So what they did was they actually put out a plan, and it's quite interesting what they've done, because the reason I was interested is we're looking at what are we going to do downtown too. So they have areas that are designated as they'd use something like the floor area ratio would be 3.5. That's all. It's floor area ratio 3.5. Floor area ratio 2.5. another one's 1.5, another would be single-family houses. So they've got this all laid out. And then they take it as a right that a certain amount of sidewalk space, much wider than what we're using up here anywhere, is automatically given as part of being able to build there. If they want to do more, then they can get additional density. But they've got it set up so that if you come to a corner, if the size of the building you're doing is, I don't know, 3.5, FAR 3.5, then the setback from the corner has to be a certain amount. It's all just laid out. So if somebody comes in and they're wanting to build in an area, they know exactly what the window envelope, the envelope for the building is. The community knows all about that as well, and so there's buy-in. They also showed us the buildings there that they put up, like we did in Sechelt, and that what is going up in Gibson's, the supportive housing stuff, and the impact it had on the downtown. So it was quite an interesting day. I had a meeting with my CAO, with the school district, the superintendent, and the secretary-treasurer. We were looking at how can we work with them, Sechelt and the school district, given West Sechelt Elementary and the parking issues and safety for students, etc. There were a number of things we talked back and forth, so we'll make that a regular habit that we do that. And then, given all the organic stuff that we're all doing, our staff set up a tour of Salish soils for us. So not all of the counselors could come, but we went and did a tour so that we know what's going on behind the scenes. And then Chair Pratt and I attended the 2963 Seaforth Highlanders Ceremonial Review. It's a small group of children, or young adults, I guess, because they go up to 12 to 19. But they brought over the Seaforth Highlander Pipe Band. And so it was at Chattelich Secondary, and the pipe band led them in, and then whenever they had to do any kind of a march, the pipe band was doing their thing. It was so cool. And the students were so pleased. There were a bunch of awards that were given out, and we actually both, I didn't know I was presenting something till I got there, but we both were presenting awards. But what was really cool is the people in the students in this program didn't know who was going to win. They didn't know, so they were really surprised when they got announced, and they came up and accepted their awards. That was kind of cool. What else did I mention? Oh, yes, Wednesday morning, yesterday, Sechelt Chamber had a breakfast with the mayor. I took my CAO along so I wouldn't get into trouble. Okay, so I gave a speech, and then they asked me a bunch of questions. I think it went well. That was followed up yesterday at noon with a council-to-council meeting with the Sechelt Nation. So they came to us. We had lunch with them and shared ongoing plans, where we are with various things, and what are some of the things that are coming up. One of the things that they brought up was they would like to see move forward is the regional planning strategy. Regional growth plan, yes, regional growth plan. They really want to see that move forward. They're saying in about in the 2 years' time, they figure they will be doing their land use plan for the area with the province. And the reason it's going to take that long to actually get started is because the province has to staff up for it. So they're ready on their side to start, but the province isn't. And the province will actually be providing support to them. So they said in the meantime, they would really like to get the regional growth strategy done up and down the coast together, because that will then help inform the land use plan that they're going to be putting in place. It is costly, but what we talked about was, again, as we talked at this board, was about the fact that there's gas tax money that's coming, and they get it too. So everybody gets gas tax money. If we all pooled some money, that might be something that we could do. So again, keep that in mind. We will be having our intergovernmental meeting coming up, and we could talk about it there. Yesterday at our Committee of the Whole meeting, we had Staff Sergeant Poppy Hallam. She finally came to see us. She's been to see Gibson's a few times. She mentioned that. Yeah, I know. No, I understand why. Gibson's is looking at what happens when they have to move to paying for the RCMP. But she came and she went over some of the stats and some of the issues they're having here on the coast, and she'll be coming back. So that's all the stuff that I've done. At the district of CSHOT, we've now approved our budget, our strategic plan. The Lions housing agreement has been approved, so I think that's the last step before they can actually come back for adoption of their bylaw or their zoning, et cetera, zoning and OCP amendment, and then they could start building. We also have looked at our fees and charges bylaw and done some amendments to that. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And how are you doing for Active Transportation Month?
How am I doing? Let's see, I rode here today on the bike. Yes. I have ridden the bike a few times. I've been walking lots. I've gotten rides a few places. Yesterday, after our committee of the whole meeting, most of our council went up to check out Sandy Hook Trail. So I thought it was going to be a lot steeper, but it's pretty narrow. But we all went up there and did that, took a picture. There's a picture on Facebook.
Saw that?
Yeah. What I'm finding is there's more preparation I need to do. My bag here today, I got 3 computers in my bag. It's a lot to haul around, and it takes more time. That's it. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Thank you very much for the update. And we're going to go over to West Howe Sound and Area F. Director Hiltz. What's up?
Thanks, Chair Pratt. West Howe Sound stuff. Well, I guess we'll start in really West Howe Sound. So Gambier Island, we had the Howe Sound Community Forum. What was that, on April the 26th at Camp Furcombe. A number of directors were there. The takeaway from the Howe Sound Roundup is that the winter there was 4 significant storms, and styrofoam is a significant issue in Howe Sound, how to clean it up. And the mayor from Bowen Island talked about the storms and how unprepared they were to deal with people who couldn't get on the ferry, and it was winter time and there was no place for them to stay, so tying in with emergency procedure preparedness. The next day was more West Howe Sound. This is Gambier Island. It was an opportunity to go to the Gambier Island Local Trust Committee, which is interesting that you have 3 people dealing, rather than a board our size, you have 3 people dealing with a variance permit, which is kind of interesting. And they're also having to work across a large geographical distance. So their staff is in Gabriola Island, the person phoning in. So it was a conference call to deal with a local issue. So that was a bit tricky. And it's interesting to see how, we're all on one coast here, but they deal across the strait and islands and ferries. It's really logistically difficult for them to get together. So they're really starting to rely on technology, video conferencing, and they're really gearing up to use that as a tool to bring these groups together. Then the 28th, that was the poignant moment. That's the day of mourning at the Dougal Park. Mayor Beamish was there as well. And having come out of the public works area and kind of the more dangerous sort of places, confined spaces, electrical, gases, all that type of stuff, the fellow there reminded us that I think he said about half of WorkSafe injuries are people falling off of step ladders, 2 or 3 up step ladders. And then the other one that was drawing attention to was distracted driving, which having spent more time in a car in the last 6 months than I have and rushing between meetings, it's a good reminder for us as directors that we are in a workplace and we got to pay attention to the road and when we're driving. So yeah, it was a really good reminder. And there was amazing stories of individuals on the coast who have suffered extreme injuries and have come back. And so it was really nice to see the focus on WorkSafe. And it was a good reminder that even though this is a relatively safe job, there are still hazards that we really got to pay attention to. So I'll leave it there.
And how are you doing for Active Transportation Month?
I'm doing well. Carpooling, riding my bike. I'm not tracking. It is spring again, so which is nice, which helps active transportation. And I'm going to echo Director Seegers that it is a lot more effort, and you have to prepare a lot more. You have to think about what you're carrying. And I was driving 10 minutes here this morning, and then I forgot my laptop at home, so I just turned around and went home. And if I was on a bike, I'd think twice about turning around. So this preparation time, and it is more cumbersome. There's just no getting around it. Our society is geared around cars, especially on the Sunshine Coast. Yeah, so it is a real challenge. But I'm up to it.
Thank you. And we'll go to the other end of the coast, up to Area A. And Director Lee, what's going on in Pender Harbour and Egmont?
Thank you, Chair. On April 27th, we had April Tools up in Madeira Park. And boy, that was great fun. And I had a rotary hamburger. Boy, they're great. If you get a chance to go, you'll have to have one of those hamburgers. I was a judge for the races, and that was good because you get right down to the dock and you get up close and personal as they sink. So, so that was fun. And the Fireflies won again. That's the Pender Harbour Fire Department. They just about always win. They build the bestest boats. You know, when they come out and the bow of their boat's just a little bit above the water so it goes faster, they've got a pretty good design. Anyways, that was lots of fun. Something that wasn't quite so much fun, I went to meet with a 6-person delegation, Baker Beach, which is our SCRD park at the end of the road. And they're worried about no fire signs, late night and noisy parties, and no water at the park, and people lighting fires, and the beach erosion. So it's a real issue, and hopefully we can help them a little bit. We'll work on that. But at least I went there and said, yeah, I'm sympathetic. But yeah, it's what was really good, though, is that they have such an interest in their park, and they weren't saying not in my backyard at all. They were wanting to work to make it safe for everybody to use, which I was surprised and actually kind of delighted to hear it. That they actually liked the park and wanted it for the public to come to. And then we went on a harbor tour with Bill and Lynn. They're great hosts. And a nice boat that they put forward for free for us because my boat wasn't big enough. So you guys that missed it, you missed a lot of fun. Well, wait till I get mine going again. I got to get my bow thruster. We'll do it again. All the rural directors attended, plus Mariana, and I think we had fun, actually. And we reviewed a lot of outstanding issues of the day in Pender, and it actually was, well, the boat ride was nice. It was actually quite productive, and I think we all had a chance to look at pods and Sarah Hall and all the zones they put in at the harbor. So we did good work, and a few boats that not floating quite so well, and some that are soon to join them. We got to look at that, the derelict boat issue. So it was good. So that was it. Thank you.
And I'm going to ask the question about Active Transportation Month. How are you? Are you integrating that into your life?
I'm doing really great in Active Transportation Month. I give Mariana a ride down, so there was 2 of us, and I haven't run over one cyclist yet.
So no distracted driving then either. So great job, Director Lee.
So I'll
Wait till he gets home before you. Okay. Okay, so we'll hop over to Elphinstone and Director McMahon. Your update on Area E, please.
Right, everything Elphinstone. So I also attended the Howe Sound Forum at Camp Furcom, which was great because I haven't had a chance to visit that before, and I learned some stuff, so that was good. On April 27th, I went bushwhacking with a group of intrepid community members to find out for good whether it's really possible to put a trail through along the Grandview Road allowance between Lower Road and Ocean Beach Esplanade. And while I hesitate to use the word impossible, I don't think most people will want to climb hand over hand up a crumbling precipice. It was fun, but we did, rather than go back down said crumbling precipice, we went up and around through Whispering Firs Park, still Whispering Firs Park, and down Ocean View Drive, and then down the existing trail. And that was interesting because we were looking at a possible lower grade connector route through there that would make it easier for cyclists. So I think TRAC will be in touch about that one. April 28th was Earth Day. And to get a head start on active transportation, I walked to Earth Day from my place, which involves going along to the end of Ocean Beach Esplanade, along the beach, up the road access by his place, and along a lower road. And I spent the day there volunteering with the Coast Car Co-op. On April 30th, of course, with rural directors did our grants and aid. No directors were harmed during the proceedings, and I think we came out okay. We're still all talking to each other. It's really good. May 3rd was the first meeting of the Gibsons and District Fire Commission, which also Mark attended. The other representatives from the town are Stafford Lumley and David Kroll. And, of course, the fire chief attends. And our CAOs were there, Gibsons and SCRD. And we got an orientation from the retired fire chief, Bob Stevens. The new chair of our fire commission is Marilyn Peterson, who is the emergency services coordinator for the emergency program here on the coast. She is the first chair of the fire commission who is not a former firefighter, and almost certainly the first woman chair. So we're just changing it up a little bit. May 4th was a World Naked Gardening Day, but I did not, in fact, celebrate that event. Instead, I went up Tramline Trail from Elphinstone Pioneer Cemetery, and that's when I was shocked to see the great, you missed that, the great swaths of dead salal along the slopes of Mount Elphinstone. I was really shocked. I have put a post on my website yesterday because there's new news coming in about it's all across the coastal BC. CBC is covering it. It's really disturbing for the what it says about our environment, but also the fire hazard up there is frightening. Let's see, on May 7th, of course, we got the tour of Pender Harbor. Thank you so much, Director Lee. He even did a PowerPoint presentation for us. Yeah. Awesome. Yesterday morning, I met with the ICBC Road Safety and Community Coordinator to point out some hot spots in Area E, specifically the Reed Road bypass, which is our bypass whether we like it or not. The intersection of Highway 101 and Pratt Road, which if you go on the ICBC website, you will discover there have been 60 collisions there in the last 5 years, which makes it, I think, the top hotspot on the lower Sunshine Coast. And if my arithmetic is correct, that's like one collision a month. So I'm not sure why that intersection is so bad, but it merits some more investigation. And then, of course, this is the section of Highway 101 in front of Wood Creek Park and Poplar's Trailer Park. Let's see. Last night was the Elphinstone Community Association meeting. I brought a surprise special guest, Jason Lewis, who is one of the student counselors for the town of Gibsons, and he addressed them on his career in politics. He's interested in getting some students together to tour our water treatment plant, and I said if he can find some students, we'll make it happen somehow. And then finally, it is Active Transportation Month. Eat my dust. I am tracking my kilometerage, and I am up over 100 kilometers as of this morning, and I look forward to anybody in local government who can beat me. I remind everyone here that the wrap-up party for Active Transportation Month will be held Friday, May 31st, starting at 6:30 at the Gumboot Cafe. I highly recommend it.
Terrific. Thank you, Director McMahon. Over to back to the District of Sechelt and Director Lamb. What have you been up to?
Not as much as the mayor. Okay, so I guess, so what do? I guess, can't remember what day it was, but anyways, I attended a meeting with regards to cannabis. And it was an organization from Vancouver that came up, and was more of a information meeting, I guess. The meeting was attended by the RCMP, School District 46, Vancouver Coastal Health, and all local governments had people in attendance. Was at the mayor's lunch and mayor's breakfast. I know I had lunch that day too. I think I had lunch with the mayor that day too. Yes, yes, and and so the other thing kind of sort of went by yesterday. I wonder how many people remembered that it was VE Day. Yeah. It was kind of a sobering moment for me yesterday when it sort of came to light, and I was just kind of sitting there talking to an older gentleman, and it's one of those things here in Canada, especially when you live here on the Sunshine Coast, and you got such a spectacular place to live, and most of the people here in this room probably haven't missed a meal or had to put up with any inconveniences. So it was just kind of one of those sobering moments again. And then Active Transportation Week. I sort of haven't really been tracking my mileage, I guess, or kilometers or whatever, but my biggest problem too is I need to get a bicycle pump up my tires so I can get out there and get going. But that's.
You walked all the council meetings.
Yeah, I walk to council meetings. Yeah, I'm out. I'm fairly active, so that's good. Great, thank you.
Apparently the quote is mountain goat.
We went on this trail yesterday, and there were some markers up the hill. Well, he just jumped up and he's climbing up this hill. Even the young guys look at him saying, wow, it's like a mountain goat.
Way to go, Director Lamb. Yeah. Okay, so let's go over to find out what's happening up in the creek. Director Tyes, please.
The creek, up the creek. Well, I wasn't aware that May the 4th was national. Is it International Naked Gardening Day? So, yes. I knew it was Star Wars Day, but not International Naked Gardening Day. So I think that's a much more fun event. But yes, so I also attended the Howe Sound Community Forum, being within Squamish Nation territory, at least to 50%. So I thought it would be a good idea to participate, and it was really educational, and I think the intention to make the Howe Sound a UN Biosphere Reserve is a laudable initiative. Then I guess we moved on. We had Earth Day, and thank you to Emily Cook and Graham Starsage for putting on a great event, and as well as the rest of the Roberts Creek Community Association. I got to say my thing about water conservation, and tried to reach out to the crowd there when I got to draw the name from the hats for the draw prizes. And so I tried to get my word in edgewise there. Yeah, I was happy to see that it was a well-attended event. Then last week I went to the Aboriginal Relations Committee, which we're a non-voting member on that one, and it's run by the Metro Vancouver Regional District, and so it was very interesting. It also really bolstered my active transportation stats because I took public transit all the way. So I did 106 kilometers just on that day alone.
Doesn't count.
But you took the bus yesterday, and you.
Yeah, I wasn't counting that in my 100.
Oh, you weren't? Oh,
No.
okay. Well, then in that case, then I'm sorely behind. But according to Director Pratt's challenge, I think I'm still in the running there. But yeah, so there were two significant presentations there. One was by Harsha Walia, and she is the Power of Women Coordinator for the Downtown Eastside Women's Center. And there was a report called Red Women Rising, and Indigenous Women Survivors in Vancouver's Downtown East Side. And so she spoke to what can be done to assist Indigenous women in getting off the street and getting and becoming self-sufficient once again. And the two big things that came out of it was that a lot of the organizations that work out of the Downtown East Side are exempt from the Residential Tenancy Act because their organizations are they're just not subject to it. So that means that they also don't have the requirements to give people privacy, so they can barge in on people and those kind of things. And so yeah, so their big request was that some housing would be provided for them that actually abides by the Residential Tenancy Act, to give these people some dignity and some privacy, as well as to make more housing available for single mothers with children, because a lot of the housing in the Downtown East Side is single occupant only, and that means that the children will have to go to social housing or to what's it called? Foster care. Yeah. So that was the one, and then the other one was an excellent presentation by Jessica Morrison about the United Nations Declarations on the Rights of Indigenous People, UNDRIP as it's called, and she gave a sort of a rundown on what UNDRIP means and where we are as a nation and where we are as a province, and what we can what's being done to get UNDRIP happening. And so while the federal government has declared that it wants to follow UNDRIP, we are a long ways away from actually being able to implement it, because it essentially means rewriting the Constitution, getting rid of the Indian Act as it is, and doing essentially rolling back colonization. So it's a huge task, and it's sort of a work in progress, and so it will take decades to implement the intentions behind UNDRIP. But that was a really neat presentation. I reached out to Jessica Morrison, and she also does an Aboriginal Relations 101 workshop, and I thought that might be something great that we could be doing here at the board level. And she works for the Fraser Valley Regional District, and they have a lot of First Nations that they have to deal with, because I think there's like 6 or so within their regional district that they have to deal with. So they are sort of front and center on doing that. So she's great, and maybe we can reach out to her. And All right. Yeah, that was the tour of Pender Harbor the other day, which was great. Thank you to Lynn and Bill and Lynn for the great tour. And then followed up by a really good presentation on microcannabis. It filled in a lot of blanks for me as to where cannabis is, where it's headed, and what may be coming down the pipeline for us. And so thank you to the District of Sechelt for the invite. And that was great. And it was also nice to see a big turnout there. And the rural, we did the rural area grants and aids. And my plan in the next month is to talk to provincial parks and make sure that just have a dialogue with them about water usage and as well as garbage in our Roberts Creek parks. So that's my report there. I'm at 133 kilometers. If you take the 106 away, then it's looking not as proud, but so far I'm winning. I'll take it.
Thank you, Director Ties. So let's head on over to the town of Gibsons, and Director Beamish, please.
Yeah, it's a busy time, as we all are. I did meet with the Sea Cavalcade Committee last week. They obviously are not doing Sea Cavalcade again, but they are going to be putting on an event. It's going to be on April the 11th, which is a Sunday in the evening. August 11th. It's a Sunday in the evening. We recognize that Sechelt has activities going on that weekend as well. But the evening of Sunday, it's going to be in the park. Nearly Neil, I think, is the performer. And it'll be a family day and entertainment. And that'll be kind of a thank you to the community for all their participation and volunteerism over the years with the committee. So we look forward to that. Did the hike for hospice last week. Attended the Day of Mourning in Gibsons. I made a presentation to the Gibsons Rotary Club on the first 6 months, and what our council have been doing, and learning, and where we are relative to the commitments we made. So that was good. May 4th anniversary. I never knew that. May the 4th. That's my anniversary. So another reason to. Another reason to get naked, yeah. Don't tell my wife we went there, okay?
It's a matter of public record now.
Water Month. We have our staff have put up a big display in our foyer at the town office. And David Kroll, I don't know where he got them from, but got these 3-minute timers for shower timers. So we have a bunch of those that people are taking them away, sort of thing, as they come in and have a 3-minute shower timer. The Gibson Cape Town Challenge, we're actively promoting that. I am meeting tomorrow, actually, at lunchtime with the Elphinstone School Environmental Club. Talk about that. They want to take that on as their school challenge, so that we'll work with them. I've got to come up with the right incentive prizes, but I think they're probably going to be books, as is the usual thing for schools. We met with Gibsons Elementary. Sailor Soils delivered a load of soil to the elementary school, so we had an opportunity to meet there and talk to the students about the recycling that goes on with the green waste and the organics and the sewage sludge, and how that all goes into making the soil that's going to grow the food. I also had an opportunity to meet with one of the classes in there, a grade 3 class, and talked about Tuktoyaktuk, which is part of their Canadian learning. They were in the Northwest Territories, so that was good. Our budget's been adopted this week. We had a council workshop on development permits, and we focused on the 3 larger development permits that we had recently, the previous board had approved. And, talking about what we can get through, how development permits are structured, what we can achieve through the development permit process, what we can request from developers. It was a very good workshop, and the staff did an excellent job of the background work to it, and then walking us through the 3 permits, talking about Gospel Rock, the Eagle Crest, and and Gibson's hotel project. So, Active Transportation Month, yes, I am riding. I've ridden my bike to the office for every meeting, and the other night at 9:30, I think my wife was going to go out and look for me coming up the hills with my lights on and coming up from the office very slowly. People walk past me. That's how slow it is. But I do make it, and that's okay. We are looking forward this month, first of all, to the intergovernmental next week. We're all looking forward to that. And May the 21st, we are going to be holding a dialogue around water centered around the Paulus Water Governance webinar. And that's we signed up for that. We're going to show it in council chambers, and we're going to be advertising it, inviting the public to come in and see the webinar at the same time. I think it starts at 9:30 in the morning. And sorry, 21st of May, yeah. And it starts at 9:30 in the morning, and it's an hour and a half webinar. And then we're going to run it till noon and have that hour discussion afterwards with our staff and talk about water. We're also approved application for a needs assessment, a housing needs assessment, which we have proposed that rather than do just a local one, the town would take the initiative and take the lead on a regional housing needs assessment, shared with the regional district and the district of Sechelt. We are eligible for a much larger grant. I think it's $125,000 if we do it as a regional project. So we propose that. And we also received a UBCM Interface Fire Grant, and so we'll be working on rolling that out. I don't know if that came up at the Fire Commission meeting, but we'll be doing the planning around that. And I think the regional district also received a grant. Oh, you didn't receive one on that? Oh, Powell River got it. Okay. Well, we did get one, and we'll be rolling that out, and we'll be looking at areas E and F being interface fires and working around that. So we'd have that include you in that dialogue on that sort of thing. And May 31st, the gumboot. That's the gumboot in Roberts Creek, right? Yeah. Yeah, not the boot. Okay, good, excellent. And as I say, not only do I have a bike, I bought my wife a bike, the first one she's had in 32 years, and I bought a second bike, which I took a picture of and sent to my son. So they sold and got a bike for him too. So we're being active, and we're getting around, and my dog's getting lots more longer walks, so that's good. So
Terrific. Thank you, Director Beamish. Let's see, for Half Moon Bay and for myself, what I've been up to, library board meeting on April 27th, was at the Fair Lake naming, which was very moving. May 4th at the Skookumchuck annual inspection. May 5th, hike for hospice. I actually got a burn that day, a sunburn. Yeah. So, which then also got a little bit worse after our tour of Pender Harbor and being out on the boat, but not going to. We've had a long dry spell, and we've had a number of fires, and the fire that happened in Half Moon Bay was a bit of a shocker, and I mean everyone took care of it very, very quickly. The residents were evacuated very quickly as well, and it was an interesting process because it could have gone another way very, very quickly. But one of those cases, we've had just in that 1 week, I think we had 5 or 6, and it's very dry. And my husband, dog, and I, we went up the mountain to watch the helicopter as it was coming around with the water and everything, and he remarked about how dry it had been up there since the time he'd been up there the week before with the dog for a run. And, when, what was that? That was late April, and your dog is kicking up dust already as they're racing down the trail. It's a little worrisome. So let's hope for some rain soon. The craft cannabis discussion was quite interesting. It answered a couple of questions. It put a whole bunch more in my mind as well, but just obvious, like we need to learn more about what's going on. Something that's upcoming. I've volunteered with the Rotary Club of Pender Harbor to be in their dunk tank on May Day. And then I also, when we were at the Hike for Hospice, there's now a list for the dunk tank on July the 1st in Seychelles. So I think they got 2 mayors. You're not going to do it? Okay, well, they got a mayor and a chair. So bring your change and throw, dunk your politician, I guess. So, and just a lot of time with family the last couple of weeks as move a first-year university student back home and adjust to the challenge of that. And heading to drier neighborhoods today at the end of the day, heading to a Soyuz for a soccer tournament, and which is definitely a lot drier than what we are. And it's 32 degrees is what is scheduled to be. So I'm sure the burn is going to be a little bit darker at the end of all of that. And but that's the little. Oh, and I guess the other thing was the Talk to Your Local Government show on, what day was that? May the 2nd. And Councillor Kroll was sat in for Mayor Beamish, and we had a lovely conversation, and it was it was always a fun thing to do. So other than that, I think that's pretty much it. It's been a full couple of weeks, but I had a birthday in there too, so yeah. But anyways, that's 24. Yeah, I'm 24 apparently. So yeah, no. Well, the gray hair says otherwise. 6 months in, that's what it says. So with that, there's all of our directors' reports. We have no new business unless somebody has a burning need to bring up new business. I shouldn't say the word burning after saying we've been having fires. And we will be going in camera. Yes. Go ahead, Director Beamish.
No, I was just going to ask, not new business, but what happened to the resolution on water that was discussed a couple of weeks ago? Did we pass that? Did I miss that?
Which resolution on water? We have a few.
That Director McMahon brought up. Did it got passed as a water emergency? Well, how did I miss that?
It's going back to staff.
Yeah, okay.
It's in the package now. Yeah. Okay, so I'll ask for a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with Section 91A, C, I, and K of the Community Charter, personal information about identifiable individual, labor relations, or employee relations, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, and negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service. If I may have a motion for that. So moved. Seconded? Seconded. All those in favor? Motion carries. We'll call for adjournment of our open and ask for any questions from our audience or our media.